Recovery, and I have the honor to know both of our speakers, and they are really awesome gentlemen. I know both of them have helped me greatly in my recovery, and they do prove that abstinence does not equal recovery. So I'd like to introduce Tom and Ryan. I'm glad I'm here too. Good morning. Okay, draw straws, see which one wants to go first.
Yeah. I'm up first. I'm Tom and I'm an addict. Figured if I did the first workshop, it wouldn't be this crowded. I'll keep coming back.
Good.
First of all, I have to give praise to my higher power for allowing me to be here this morning. For all the things that I put my life and my body through. I don't feel I deserve to be here. So I thank my higher power for allowing me to come here and grow with some love. And this is a place to do that. I'm really grateful for the life that I have today, as opposed to the life that I lived for so long and thought was the reality for the rest of my life. And the topic this morning is very hard for me to look at, because it makes me look at myself and makes me think about abstinence. Because even in active addiction, I'd stay abstinent for a while. A lot of times not due to my choice, whether it be I didn't have the money to buy drugs, I didn't have the capabilities of whatever, to buy drugs, but I would always look for that next high. Sometimes I was forced to quit while I went into service, and I was forced to quit for at least a few months in basic training because I couldn't even have a cigarette. And I remember calling my mom, in basic training, "Mom, you're going to come out to graduation, right?" And she says, "Yeah." And she was all proud of me and everything. "Bring me a carton of smokes," because I couldn't even smoke, and I was abstinent from that. But there was always that desire to want to go back and use again. And even in, after I got out of basic training and, started smoking again, I thought, well, this is a good opportunity for me to not use drugs. So I thought about that, because they drug test you in the military, so I thought it was a great opportunity for me to not use drugs. But the government doesn't consider alcohol a drug, so I learned how to drink pretty good. They were very good teachers, and I had a lot of people that, kicked me in the side. "Oh, let's go to the bar, let's go to the bar." So during school, when I was in the military, we would go to school during the day, and we'd have homework or whatever. We'd go down to this bowling alley that had a bar in it, and we're studying. We'd take our books down there and study and get all drunk and take the test the next day and wouldn't remember nothing. And it always seemed that I was the first one at the bar and the last one to leave the bar. And so being abstinent was not something that I really wanted to do. I always wanted to use more drugs. And there for a long period in my life, I had trouble with that, And then later on, as my disease progressed, I wanted to stop using. And I'm sure we've all told ourselves this: I'm never going to do that again. And that was my abstinence. That was my thoughts of abstinence. I'm never going to do this again. And then you wake up and you stay clean for a day or two, and then you forget. That's what my problem was. I forgot what I went through to make me say, I'm never going to do this again. And I have to be mindful of that as well today, especially today. because I am still very forgetful. And that's why I need newcomers, and that's why I need people that have been around for 15, 20 years. You know, because you people help remind me why I stay clean. You know, because when you come in here and share in a meeting and cry, it reminds me of where I was. And that's truly beneficial to me. Getting more into the meat of the topic, you know, when I first came into this program, I didn't know how to stay clean. And from the first meeting that I went to, I remember you people telling me just to keep coming back, and don't use. And if I forgot everything else, I remembered those two things: don't use and keep coming back. So I didn't use, and then I went to some more meetings, and I still didn't use, and I didn't use, and I didn't use, and I still haven't used yet. You know, so but I have to continue to learn how to stay clean. And I found that by working some of the steps, I haven't got through all of them yet. I'm still pretty early in recovery, and I'm sort of stuck on my 8th step. But it took me 6 months to do my first step, and I shared it with my sponsor at Spirituality Under the Stars. My first year in recovery, like I said, 6 months, and from there, man, I felt so cleansed and so relieved, and you know, wow. And he didn't even bat an eye or flinch or nothing when I was telling him these things, and I was like, "Are you listening to me? Did you hear what I said? Do you know what I did?" And he was like, "Yeah." You know, and he wasn't shocked, and I was shocked because he wasn't shocked. You know, so I thought, wow, this is cool. You know, so I worked my 2nd step and I worked my 3rd step, you know, and I was really motivated. And then I got to my 4th step, you know, and I was like, okay, I got to get through this one real quick, you know. Turned out I didn't get through it so quick. And I called my sponsor, you know, and I called him all the time, you know, either before I wrote or after I wrote, you know, and I was calling him real regular. And I'd sit down and, you know, I work afternoons, and my wife was working at that time, so I would be able to wake up in the morning and get the pen and paper out and have the whole house to myself, go to any room I wanted to go to, and just write. And I'd write for 6 hours a day. It was relentless, you know, and that was part of my addiction. You know, I wanted this program a lot, and so I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and I finally got my 4th step done, and I shared it with my sponsor, and it was just awesome. I couldn't believe it, you know, and so I went through and I did my 5th step, and you know, I got to 6 and 7, and I was, oh man, this is more work here, and you know, I was still motivated at that point. So I got through 6 relatively fast, and then I got to 7, and it was like I was on 7 for 8 months. You know, and I got the writing done, you know, in like a couple months, 2-3 months. And my sponsor says, "Well, you're not ready to go on yet." I was like, "What? I finished my step. I did all this stuff." "No, you're not ready yet." So I spent an additional, you know, 5 months working on myself to get through that step, because I couldn't get past a couple things, you know, and I had a lot of problems with accepting myself, and through not being able to accept myself, you know, I stopped to grow. I stopped growing, and then I started looking at other people. I started looking at my son a lot, you know, who is now in recovery, thank God. You know, and he's here this weekend. But he was doing a lot of things that were really getting on my nerves and aggravating me. You know, and looking back, thinking about all those things that he did, You know, I taught him that. I taught him that. I told him how to lie. I told him how to cheat. I taught him how to steal. I taught him all these things, and then I get mad at him for doing those things. You know, and it's through the steps that today I understand that the things he does are his choices. I may have showed him how to do them. I didn't tell him to do them. I showed him to do them. But today I'm showing him things that are different. Today I'm showing him that, you know, recovery is more than just abstinence. It truly is. Because now that I'm working on my 8th step, I had a hard time starting it, and then I had a hard time continuing it, and I'm still working on it. And I just wrote some more last week on the 8th step. But through this, you know, beginning process of the 8th step, I didn't have a lot of willingness at that point. And that's where I can really bring this topic into play in my life. You know, because ever since I got in recovery, I was all gung-ho. And then all of a sudden, I stopped working my step. And I feel as though I've been abstinent from drugs, but not really progressing in my recovery, because I'm not working on myself. I'm not working on those steps. You know, and I try to look at things, and I try to have communication, you know, with my son and my wife. And I've noticed that since I haven't been working on that, it's very difficult to be open with my family. It truly is. And so I feel I've been abstinent. And I know that when I start working my step like I should, I will progress again, and I will grow again. I still go to a lot of meetings. Not a lot of meetings. I go to 3 or 4 a week. And when I see the newcomer come in the door, I know a lot of times in the past I didn't go up to the newcomer because I was afraid of that. Because it scared me. Because, yeah, this person's abstinent today, but doesn't really have any recovery, and I don't really want to be around that person. And that was my attitude for a while. And you people kept reminding me that we can only keep what we have by giving it away. And who are we going to give it away to? The newcomer, because that's the person that needs it. So I've had a new outlook on the newcomer, and I go talk to the newcomer. I make it a point to tell the newcomer the things that I was told in my early recovery. Those 2 things, don't use and keep coming back. You know, and I share that a lot because I think that's truly important to our recovery. You know, if we come into the meetings and we're high, or we're just coming off a high, it's hard for us to understand anything. I know it was for me, but I grasped onto those 2 things. You know, and I see people come in the rooms, and then I don't see them for a while, and then I see them again. And you know what? Anytime somebody walks into a meeting, there's always the potential that they might not come back for a while, and then we'll see them a year later or whatever. You know, we still have to plant that seed in their head to show them that this works. I've also seen people come in the rooms and just bury themselves in service work and not recover. You know, and I have to find that balance in my life today to realize that, hey, I have to recover, but I also have to give back to Narcotics Anonymous. I have to give back in such a way that's going to be beneficial to my recovery and the newcomer's recovery. When I can find a balance in my life, you know, that's when I am most comfortable. You know, and that balance includes meetings. It includes doing step work. It includes doing service work. I love doing service work. You know, for the first little while in recovery, I was getting a little overwhelmed, and I had to, whoa, all right, back off a little bit. And I actually have one commitment at this point. I'm a GSR for a meeting. And I sort of reluctantly gave up. I was secretary for that meeting also, and I reluctantly gave that up because somebody wanted to take it, and it was a newer member. I was like, all right, I got my chance in there. I got to give this up, But that doesn't mean I can't go to this other meeting that's hurting and say, all right, I'm going to offer my services over here, And I have that option today, to not overwhelm myself, but to continue to give back. When people ask for a ride, I give them a ride. Even if it's going to make me a few minutes late for what I got to do. My personal recovery says that I need to give more than I get, because the more I give, I get all that back, 10 times. When I go to a convention like this and I give hugs and I give my love and I give my attention, I get all that back. So many more times than I give. And that's why I love conventions. I love being around a large group of people. I really do. I'm not really comfortable speaking in front of a large group, but I truly love recovery. And I truly love what recovery has done for my life. I still have a lot of character defects that I act out on. As I pointed out, I spent a lot of time in my 7-step, but I'm able to recognize a lot of things today, because of working the steps and because of being honest, I've said this in a few meetings, and I know Meg likes this saying a lot. Don't listen to what I say, watch what I do. And I think that's important for me, to realize that you people are watching me. I could walk out of the grocery store and you people could be watching me. Because I could put on a great show in a meeting, but it doesn't mean nothing if I'm still living dirty. Not using, but just doing stupid stuff. And I try not to do that stupid stuff today, whatever that is in my life. And I'm sure the light bulbs are all popping in your head of the stupid stuff that you used to do that you don't do any longer. Or maybe the stuff that you still do, And that's why abstinence doesn't equal recovery. Because people still do the things that they used to do when they were using. They're just not using drugs, but they're using a lot of other things. Manipulation. Love is not sex, but some people use that to say, well, don't you love me? And there's so many other things that we do that I speak for myself. There's a lot of things that I do that I know my God wouldn't approve of. So I choose not to do those things today. And that's what recovery is to me. It's a growing process. We're on a journey. We're not going to get to a destination. As long as we're alive on this earth, we continue through the journey. And so I'm truly grateful to be here. It's about all I got to say about this subject. But if you come talk to me afterwards, I'll probably talk to you for a while and give you some love. And thanks everybody for being here. And I hope that we can all be more than just abstinence. We need to recover. That's all I got.
Thanks.
My name's Ryan. I'm an addict.
Hey, Ryan.
Thank you. I love this fellowship, and I'm grateful today that I found it. It was put in my life. I like to sit here and say that Narcotics Anonymous is the only fellowship I've ever attended. Fortunately, I can't. But I've met people who can, and that's beautiful. What I can share is I got abstinent, and I was going to a lot of meetings, and at a couple of days clean, I can remember sitting on my porch making a conscious decision whether I was going to eat a bullet or use, and I couldn't figure out why. When all these meetings I attended, they gave me some simple suggestions that I was supposed to take, and I decided to leave them behind. Suggestions like go to meetings, work the steps, get a sponsor, do service work. When I found Narcotics Anonymous, they promised me one thing: freedom from active addiction. It was it. That point of freedom is entirely dependent upon what I choose to do. If the point of freedom I want for myself is just to not get high today, I can do just enough to not get high today. But through working with a sponsor and doing some step work, some people have made some other promises to me. Told me that I could have freedom from hating myself, from everything I've done in the past, from the chains that I felt controlled my life. And that's why abstinence doesn't equal recovery for me. Because that point of freedom grows as I widen my base. I lost my train of thought. Just left. But had a sponsor start me for my first 3 steps. Because like I said, I was sitting on my porch making a conscious decision. And for some reason I picked up a phone. Found a sponsor and started working steps. And found out that as I applied steps in my life, I had a little more open-mindedness, a little more willingness to try something different. And I was working a 4th step right about this time last year, stuck smack dab in the middle of it, getting real judgmental, getting hateful, resentful, wondering why. Well, I got this 4th step sitting on my shelf, collecting dust. And when my step work stopped, I stopped calling my sponsor because I didn't have anything new to talk about. And when I stopped calling my sponsor, I stopped going to meetings because I didn't have anything good to share. And I found myself back where I was a couple of days before that, just staying clean. So after I'd lost my job, my relationship was on the rocks, and I hated everybody and everything around me. I talked to some addicts about it. Was given some suggestions and slowly but steadily started to work my way back into a program, doing some kind of daily maintenance to improve myself, to widen that base. And I got through the 4th step, and to see the light on the other side was amazing, just amazing. And it was just, and it rolls for a few days. And a couple of months ago, I was coming to the same crossing point with the 7th step. And I went through the same thing. I was at a convention, and I don't know why I went. I didn't want to be there, but I went anyway. Yeah, I'm soft-spoken. But I went, and I ran into the same gentleman who asked me where I was at and how I was doing. So I told him. And he gave me some simple suggestions. Go to meetings, get with your sponsor, work the steps. Yeah, the same thing we sit in meetings and tell newcomers to do. I forget to apply in my daily life because I've gotten so used to it, and I think that I've achieved so much that I sell that point of freedom short. What do I want for myself in my recovery today? Do I just want to not get high? Do I want to continue to use people, places, and things around me? Or do I want to change something? Do I want to try something I've never tried before that's worked for countless addicts? It's a question my higher power has graced me with for a couple of days now. It's working an active program of recovery. That's all I got.
Thanks, Ryan. You guys rock. I want hugs. Oh, thank you, honey. That's my favorite part. Thank you so much. Wow. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let her know so that the tape can be turned off. We are open for after comments. And I'm an addict named Meg.
Hey, Meg.
You guys reminded me of a lot of things that I forget. You know, it's like a daily thing. It's something that I need to remind myself of sometimes every moment, that abstinence for me is using without using drugs. You know, and I know I fall short, and I do that sometimes, and thank God I've got you people to remind me that abstinence does not equal recovery. You know, I was challenged one time to pick up the basic text, read a paragraph, see if I could identify. Not me. Oh no, I'm not in there every sentence. Recovery is more than just going to meetings for me. Recovery is more than just freely giving away what I have, because sometimes I have nothing to give. You know, I tend to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to grab everything I can. But sometimes I need to remember just to be still and to know. And recovery is the only thing I found that works. I'm becoming a better mother, a better friend, a better family member, a better person because of what you people give me. And I can remain abstinent, but I won't have anything if I do that. And I want things today. This program will give you the world. All you got to do is step up and take it. It takes a little bit of effort to go a long way in these rooms. I'm grateful to be here. That's all I got. Next. Hey, Mike.
I can't say enough for this program. I can't say enough about Camp Mac. Every year I come to Camp Mac, it's let me understand what being clean and recovering is truly about. I mean, it lets me know, you understand, that I still don't have to wear no masks and be somebody, you understand, that I'm not. I could be myself. I could be around people, you understand, all colors, whatever, you understand, and just be free. This is what this gives me. You know, this gives me a lot of spiritual food when I come up here. And I look forward every year coming up here because it's a God-given program. And I'm so grateful, you know, to know that even though I'm clean, like she said, I still fall short. And you people, you understand, the inspiration that I get from hearing y'all talk and just seeing y'all, you know, walk the compounds shows me that this program works. And if it wasn't for a God who I call Jesus Christ, deliver me back to y'all, hey, I don't know where I would be. I'm just truly grateful, you know, to let me know I don't have to be up here. I could be right here, you know, and everything's be all right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Hi, my name is Veronica. Well, I know sooner or later I'm gonna have to step up and do an open talking. I've been asked to do it on several occasions, but I guess it's not time for me to do it. So I guess I'm preparing myself for this. I'm a little shy. Speaking in front of a room full of people, but I have no problem with acting the food under influence, I guess.
Love you, honey.
I have to give thanks to my higher power, give thanks to all these beautiful people that's sitting in this room. I've never seen a room with so many beautiful people in my life. I think this is truly a beautiful place. It's the first time here, and I plan not to make it my last. I'm enjoying my recovery. I've only been a year clean, just a year clean. I plan to make it longer than that. I'm telling you, I've never had this much fun clean. I mean, I have more fun now than I did when I was using. Because, I mean, you start off having fun, but then, you know how the end result is. But to wake up every day and smile and laugh and joke and even get serious and then go somewhere and sit down and think about what you're angry about and then go back to that person that you were angry with and say, hey, I kind of understand what you're saying to me now. Because when you're angry, you don't hear, you know. All you can do is see red. But when you sit down, see, when you're sober and you can sit back and think of what this person is telling you, you need to take a look at some things, work on it. I'm learning about me today. Sure, putting down the drugs is more to just putting the drugs down, but you have to start dealing with yourself, and that could be even harder than picking up. See, it's easier to get high because you can cover up your feelings. You can cover up the real you. But when you drop the drugs and start taking a look at yourself, it's not a pretty picture always. It's a lot of things I need to work on in areas now that I'm clean. My behavior, the relationships that I have with certain people, certain situations, you know, learning how to respond to certain things and certain situations. I'm learning all that all over again, but I'm having fun doing it though. That's the difference. And when things get kind of serious, I can sit back to myself and think. I didn't know how to think when I was getting high. All I could think of was once that high went down to go and get more. So I didn't have time to sit down and really think about things, you know. And then you didn't care how you got it. Today I care, and I care about people. Whereas I can remember time I couldn't stand nobody. I couldn't even stand myself. And I didn't love myself, and I sure in the hell didn't love other people. You know, although I treated them better than I treated myself. That's strange, isn't it? You don't like you, and you don't like half the people you associate with, but you treat them better than you treat yourself. What's wrong with that picture? Trying to people please. Today I'm learning not to do that. You have to accept me, the naked me, the same way I have to accept the naked you. And I'm going to tell you something else about me too, and then I'll close. If I can't see the beauty in you, I don't want to see nothing. I'd rather not see anything. Because there's beauty in all of us. It's easy to see the ugly side. Anybody can point out the ugly side. Check out the inner beauty. Be surprised what you might find there. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.
Hi, family. My name's Bob. I'm a grateful recovering addict. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times. Really grateful that Camp Mac is here and that there's a place for us to go and enjoy the freedom of recovery. And if you look up the abstinence doesn't equal recovery in the dictionary, my picture's there. You know, for the first 3.5 years of my recovery, I came around here and had a young lady on my arm, and, you know, that was my recovery. I was able to look at her so I didn't have to look at me. Imagine that. And then, of course, like, what happens around here is we grow at different rates. You know, like plants, you know, you can give every plant the same amount of water, and some of them grow taller, and some of them stay short. Well, I didn't look at me, so I stayed short. And she grew, and, you know, things happened. She went her way, and I went mine, and it forced me to look at me, which I didn't want to do. And like the gentleman that was up here, you know, I didn't want to use, but I surely didn't want to feel that pain. I didn't know how to deal with it because I hadn't worked the steps the way I should have. And, you know, suicide was looking good, even clean. And, you know, I had to get with the program, be honest about it, and say, you know, this hurts. And come to a meeting and cry and share my feelings, you know, and being the vice president of a outlaw motorcycle club for years and years, that's not real easy to do, is come here and cry in front of a bunch of people. But I had to do that. Otherwise, I was going to stick that gun in my mouth like he was talking about, and I didn't want to do that either. You know, it was suggested to me that maybe I should join a men's group. Duh. Maybe I should start writing every day. Duh. You know, and I took those suggestions, and I'll tell you what, life is it's a breeze today. You know, I got to look at some of those character defects, and I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I screwed my dog like the guy at Dacna did. You know, I done damn close to it. You know, I ain't never been with a 10, but I've been with 5 2s. And, you know, I have to look at that stuff today and look at, you know, because as far as I can see, you know, relationships are the leading cause of relapse, you know, in the program. And if you don't get with it, it'll get you. And you know, I don't want that today. I love my life. You know, if you'd have told me 5 years, a month, and 3 weeks ago that I'd be sitting up here, I'd have probably socked you in the eye. I had no idea that life could get this good. I just thought I was going to stay at Gratiot and McClellan and sell dope the rest of my life and go back to prison. But you know what? I'm so grateful that this fellowship, you know, that my higher power guided me here, you know, and that I don't have to do that insane stuff anymore, that, you know, I can look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what? You're not a bad person. You just did bad things. And that, you know, just for today, as long as I put one foot in front of the other, my life's a breeze. And it's only because of people around here. I learned how to grow up here in public. And, you know, I don't like to come up here and admit this stuff, you know, that, that sheep are scared around me. But, you know, it's good to be able to come up here and laugh at yourself. Thank you very much. I love you. Hey.
I'm Jim. I'm an addict. Hi, everybody. God, I didn't want to do this. Yeah, it's. But there's some things I wanted to say, so I hope that I'm able to say them. I got here about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock this morning, and if you can tell where I came from, you know. But yeah, I've been around these rooms 15, 16 years, and you know, this is my home. You know, these are my people, and you know, as I was driving, I was very, very tired. It's been it's a rough time. God and I are. My sponsor's forcing me to say that these days. It's not me and God. It's God and I, and because I really do need God in my life today, when all else fails. And I think that's what time does to you. If you don't relapse, you've got to get a power greater than yourself. If you don't I don't know how you stay happy as an addict. You know, I've been, in my years, I have been the NA Nazi. I don't know if you know what that is here in Indiana. You got those in Indiana? Okay. I have been the service junkie, and I have been the abstinent one. And I have been married the entire time to a non-addict, and that just came to an end after 21 years. And that's the courage that my power gave me. That's my God speaking to me. He's been telling me a long time. He's been talking to me. And I've been asking for the serenity to accept, and it isn't there. And see, I can go real easy with that serenity to accept. I'm powerless. You know, I think sometimes, and there's some anger in me, so if I spin off here, just bear with me. But, you know, I think a lot of times in these rooms, we say, I'm powerless, and that means I don't do shit about it. This program's about making changes. What are you supposed to change in your life? Every fucking thing. Excuse my French. If it doesn't work, you know, I have my first sponsor. The reason that what attracted me to him was, and he only had 3 years clean at the time. At that time, this is like 15 years ago, in our area in Chicago, outside of Chicago, 3 years was a long, long time. You were an old timer, you know. You were somebody. You were a guru, you know. And but this guy was happy. He was smiling. He was joking. He was loving life, you know. He wasn't fucking miserable, and I was. And I wanted what he had. And I wanted to be free from the hell that I just came from. And he was going to show me the way. And he did. He showed me these 12 steps of recovery. Showed me these rooms. And nowhere in there did he talk about abstinence. You know, his thing was about living life. And there is. You have to share this message with the addicts around you, but you also have to live life. And life is outside of these rooms. And we forget that. Some of us, I think, we hide in this fellowship. And to all of you, come out, you know, because that ain't a fucking life. It's a beautiful life even outside of these rooms. The world is beautiful. There's a lot of sick shit out there, but there's some sick shit in these rooms too, let me tell you. But no, you know, as I was driving, I was very, very tired. My health has taken a real bad turn, which has caused me to take a look, because your health and your spiritual, mental, and, you know, now I'm losing my thoughts. You know what I mean. But all of those things work together. They all work together. And if you're not working on one, the other one's failing. And, you know, you learn that as you go along, you got to take care of all the areas. And it takes, you know, I think we used to say in recovery, the first year was physical, second year was emotional, third year was spiritual, and then you start all over again, you know. But a lot of us don't start all over again. We just back off the meetings. We get 3 jobs. We start trying to get wealthy and proper in society. And, you know, the basic text says, you know, you'll be grabbing positions in the community and all that, you know. And I was there, you know, and but I'll tell you, driving up here, and I didn't mean to ramble on. I really didn't want to do that, because I've been doing that all week long. But I didn't cry either, which is cool. And I'm going to do a lot of that this weekend. And if I share it with you, I share it with you. But I really want to cry alone. You know, I really do. I've cried enough in these rooms. And this isn't about crying. It's about freedom. You know, and that's what being clean is. I did not get clean to be miserable. You know. I'm here today, and I'm clean today because I want to be happy. If I want to be fucking miserable, I pick up again. You know? Yeah. It's not bad. Death doesn't scare the shit out of me at all. Really doesn't, especially when I let go of this program. It's like, yeah, kill me. I'd rather you kill me than go back out there again and live through that bullshit. Because I've lived through the bullshit. My second time out, and I went another time out. My second time out I didn't hit my dope bottom. I hit that fucking bottom that is way beyond drugs. I hit that loneliness. I lost my God. I got my God when I came in here, and I lost my God, and I was so fucking alone. And it's good to be back. And now is another stage. I have let so many things go in my recovery this time around that I never thought that I would, because I just couldn't realize what they say when they say be restored to sanity, and then turn your will and your life over. But it doesn't mean that you say, okay, God, do it for me. Okay, God, take the drug out of my hand. No, put the fucking drug down and make some changes in your life, and don't go to the places and come to the rooms and do what you gotta do. Powerless, yes, we are powerless. We are powerless over this fricking thing inside us that hates life, that's completely negative, that is poison, but we are not powerless over doing something about it. We have to do something about it. We can know the basic text from front to back. We can do every service job there is. But if we ain't taking care of ourselves, and we know we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're fucking lost in insanity. We're not relying on our God. And see, that's what is fantastic about the sponsors and the program that I've seen, is that it's forced me to get a higher power that I go to daily. That works for me. It works for me, and I'm open-minded to what everybody else may believe that higher power to be. But my higher power gets me choked up. My higher power holds me, puts me on his lap, and says, you're okay, and you're going to be fine, and you're a wonderful person, and we're going to see some sunshine. We're going to see some beauty. And when I was driving here, now, okay, let me tell you, I'm closing right now, so you can tell me shut up when I do, but when I was driving here, I was getting very, very tired, and the white lines were beginning to do this, and even the cars were like, they were like jumping at me. It was like they were freaking 10 miles down, but it was like, oh shit, But I knew I had to make it, because I can't drive for very long, and but I just knew that I had to make it, and then I saw the NA symbol. There was something really symbolic about that, and it was like, yeah, and even the long drive, I was like, first sign I thought, wow, we'll be there, but I'm like, well, not yet, and then there's another sign, and I'm like, shit, I hope I can find my way back, but fuck, I'll just stay here then, right, but no, then I got in, I pulled up, and this was like 3 o'clock this morning, so it was dark out, but I got out of the car and I looked around, and it was like, there was just such a peace, my God, not me, my God and I are on vacation, and we're going to see some beautiful stuff, and we're going to be with my family. I haven't been able to be with y'all. I had to take care of somebody, and I can't take care of her. I got kids to take care of, and that I'll do. But I'm not taking care of anybody else. You know what they tell you when you come back to these rooms? You can't save your ass and your face at the same time. And I got to save my ass. And I'm doing that today. And, I was sitting, I'm not closing yet here.
You are
But when I was sitting in the cafeteria this morning, wanted to register so bad, you know. I was like, God, please get me in here, you know. And when we went to breakfast, I was sitting there at the table, and it's just so beautiful. It's beautiful to look out at the water, and I mean, you can't believe how much beauty I'm seeing. When I first got clean, I was driving in the car with my wife, who knows nothing about this disease, doesn't want to know anything about it. But anyways, we're driving, and it started in a thunderstorm. It was lightning. You know, rain is falling and everything else. And I just stopped the freaking car, just right there at an intersection. And I got out of the car, and I was standing there in the street with the rain and the lightning and the thunder, and I was just like, wow, man, this is fucking cool. You know, this is really, really cool. You know, I never seen that stuff. I never, ever seen it. I never experienced it. Maybe as a kid, but I had forgotten it, you know? And it was like a light show, man. It was like, wow. You know, I never thought those things were possible, you know? But today, after years, I know that things are possible. I believe that things are possible. If I make the move, if I make the effort, if I make the step, it'll happen. You know, and the right thing's going to happen. If it's the wrong thing, nothing's irreversible. Right. I can track back, you know, but if I never step forward, I never find out what's beyond where I'm at. Yep. And I'm finding out, and I'm loving it, man. I really am. I was sitting in that cafeteria today, and now I think I'm getting close. In the cafeteria, when I was sitting there, I just had to sit, and I was watching people come in and that, and I was just sitting there and I was listening, and everybody was, you know, you can hear everybody talking and laughing, and, you know, you can feel it, you can see it, you can, you know, and I just sat there, and I like, you know, it was like the first time I went to a convention in Wisconsin, not Indiana, but, you know, I sat there and went, wow, man, this is fucking cool. As the years went on, I became indifferent and intolerant, like this is old shit, you know, I've heard all this already. But today, I sat there and just the sound, just watching everybody, and I hope I wasn't staring at anybody, you know, like women were like, oh, fuck, God, he's a pervert, you know. But I just was loving everybody there, you know, and the sound, and knowing what was going on, and I'm wacko, but I appreciate your time, and I'll keep coming back.
Thank you.
All right, my name's Sharita. I'm a grateful recovering addict. Hi, truly grateful to be here, clean and serene, because it did not have to be that way, and I am so very grateful that it is. Abstinence does not equal recovery for me, because I know that if I do 1/3 of the things that I did when I was using, because it wasn't always just about the substance, the lying, the manipulation. If I did any of that, I could be clean and in a penitentiary, and believe me, that scares me straight. God has been so very good to me with all the wonderful things that he's doing in my life, to me and through me. I have a wonderful relationship with God, and I have a wonderful husband, a wonderful job, just all this wonderful stuff. And if I choose to remain clean only, I will sabotage all of that. I need Narcotics Anonymous in my life to help me make healthy decisions, to cipher that stuff through you guys, so that I don't fall back and the most outrageous stuff then sounds pretty good to me. So I'm grateful that I have a support system in Narcotics Anonymous, and I can tell people the exact nature of my disease. I come from, God has done a lot of great things in my life, and so some of the positions that he has me in right now is absolutely critical that I don't get caught up in how I think other people see me. You know, because I know where I came from, and you probably didn't know me back then, but it was like that. And there are times when I would go to meetings and I get all caught up in my head thinking I shouldn't share this and maybe I shouldn't share that, and I surrendered that thing because I really could care less about what somebody thinks if it means I'm going to be all toe up after the meeting is over with. Don't get me wrong, I do care what people think, because I used to hear that saying, I don't care if anybody likes me, and I used to actually quote that myself, but today I know that that's not true. I do care what people think, and I do, want people to care about me, but not to the point that I'm like sacrificing my values or anything like that. But I have people in my life who don't love me to death, and what I mean is know that I'm doing some real insane stuff clean and don't say anything about it. I do have people who will call me on the things that I say, the choices that I make, and they'll say it in a real smooth, kind of loving way. And I probably don't know, I'm bleeding till after they take off or something. Wow, that was deep, what she just said to me. And I might even be kind of pissed off at them for the next couple of days. But when I'm driving down the street and I'm at the caution light, those thoughts come in my mind, and just like a video goes forth and I see, what I did. And even if I have good intentions, that's not how it came across. And the lady that said it was real easy to see the negative part, and it takes extra effort to see the positive. And I'm really working very, very hard at this point in my life to see the positive, because I have some just real special gifts that God has given me, so I can see stuff, and that sounds pretty tripped out, and I can see stuff that nobody else sees. But I really do have some discerning gifts, and God has called me to use that to be uplifting to people, not to, because if people look up to you, the things that you say mean a world of difference to them. So being very cautious with that gift that God has given me. Abstinence does not equal recovery. I had to really get to a great level of acceptance with that, because if I was doing something stupid, or if I thought other people were doing something stupid, I'll be so hard on them, just having a whole bunch of judgmental thoughts on them and on myself, and not living in the moment. And in the moment, the gift is that I am still clean, that I'm not using, and just enjoy it right now, but know that I do need to take a look at what it is that I'm doing. That bumper sticker that says clean and crazy, I think that has something to do with abstinence and no recovery. I used to think that was a real tripped out bumper when I first saw it, but I kept coming back, and I have a better understanding of that. So I'm really grateful to be here at We Grow with Love. This is a very special, sacred place to me for my recovery. And I was really excited. My husband said that I could come by myself this time. And a lot of times when he make those decisions, he really don't have a total conscience reality of what he's saying. So I'll just keep it really on the down low until that time comes. And then when we get to that point, he's thinking, I can't believe I said. So he's kind of trying to talk his way into staying here or coming back a whole bunch of times. But I really did appreciate him allowing me to have this personal time with myself. I do a lot of people stuff with my job, and just always people and talking and moving and all that stuff. So I really do need this time to be centered. I had the best room at this place this weekend. I'm telling you, I'm not going to tell you where it is, but I have the best room, and I know that is absolutely a gift from God to me on this weekend. Thanks for letting me share, and thanks for listening.
Everybody like to join us in the hug circle? I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're